Welcome to the show, everyone. What do we have here? Where are we at? We are on location at Gina's studio.
Welcome.
Gina, thank you very much for having me here. Welcome back to the show again. This is the second time we're having lunch here, and we're on location here. Pretty soon we're going to be seeing stuff from you in the future.
Yes, I'm excited about that.
Good. Where we're at, we're here at Gina's studio, and Gina's studio looks amazing. Why does it look amazing? Because of Walker Renovations, right?
Yeah.
That's
our company.
That's your company, absolutely. So shout out to Walker Renovations, and we're going to put that stuff in the description below. If you guys thinking about anything or renovating your house or anything like that, just put it in there.
Yeah.
You know, check it out.
There's anything too big or small.
Good. Absolutely. So having you back on the show here. Last time you were on, I'll make sure I'll link that in the top left corner for YouTube there. Otherwise, I'll put in a description on Spotify and all that stuff to the other channel of the other episode that we had.
Okay.
Yeah, for your the first episode and everything. I'll make sure we'll link that. And if you guys haven't listened to that one yet, I suggest you listen to that. It would be pretty good. So Gina is a longtime friend of mine as well, and she is a guru, I would have to say. She's helped me out for many, many years in quite a few different aspects of my life and everything. So we're going to get to know Gina a little bit more. We're going to ask her at the time of her awakening, pretty much. I guess you would call that, right? An awakening?
I think so. I mean, I feel like for me it was more of a...
like opening your mind?
An ownership of things. I think that it was really looking at myself for the first time. And when that happened was...
So you would say a self-reflection?
Yeah. You know, for me, it was when someone looked at me, I was looking for help for my child at the time. And I had been running around, you know, help him, fix him. You know, I had a very strong-willed son when he was little. And I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to handle him. And I ran all over the place looking for help. And finally, I found a woman who, after her meeting him, and then I went back in the room, Jean Venieri, I'll never forget it. And she said to me, I said, well, can you help him? Can you fix this?
Yeah.
And she said, absolutely. And I was just so excited. And she goes, right after I help and fix you.
Yeah.
And it was in that moment.
Yeah.
I mean, because that was the first time anybody had said that to me. I had been running to psychiatrists, anybody I could go to help. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time that nobody ever said that to me. And I think that I'm just so grateful that I didn't tell her to go fuck herself, you know, because I think a lot of people would have.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people, they don't think that they have problems.
Right.
And that's
not me. It's not me. And and I got news for you. It's always you. And I came to learn that. So was that my awakening? I suppose it was the space that I needed to be in to self-reflect and start to read the books I needed. Yeah. Everything at that moment, when my mind opened to it, and she started working with me, which then changed my whole entire life.
Yeah.
And my children's lives, and everything changed.
So your perspective, your mind opened up. You saw that there was an issue, and then you just started.
And I saw that it was me. I was the cause of the issue. I was the reason. And when I was able to really look at that, and she worked with me, and then I ended up going to school.
Yeah.
She blew my mind so much that I said, where did you go to school? How did you learn how to do this? And I went to school. I followed her lead, and that was back in, I think 1994.
Wow. So yeah.
In there. Yeah, 94.
You've just been...
I've been ever since. Ever since.
Been working your magic and all that stuff.
And learning.
Absolutely.
Learning a lot. So... And I plant seeds. See, that's what I do, and that's what I did with you. I'm a seed planter. I just want you to shift just a little bit. Look at something from a different way. People get locked in.
And that's the thing. That's the biggest problem I think people do have is, their, I guess, ego kind of clouds their judgment in a way, and don't think that they are the problem, and don't really reflect, do a self-reflection and say, hey, wait a second, I need to make some changes in my life.
Right.
And, that, again, for me, that was my problem for the longest time. And like you said, you planted some seeds, and it took a while for them to grow and everything else like that. So,
but even like right now, you're still in such growth, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Doing this and having different guests on, you're always learning. And I feel like that was when I would see my clients and I would help them through things. I was still always learning.
Oh, absolutely.
And it always kept me balanced.
Yes.
Because I knew I had to be balanced in order to work through it with them too. So there was a constant check, keeping yourself in check when you do this kind of work.
Absolutely.
And when, for you have only just begun to grow.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah. I've just started pretty much this
beautiful
self-reflection journey and all that stuff,
yeah.
and growing. And like you said, having each person on, especially having Mike.
Great.
Mike was
wonderful.
He's an amazing person.
I look forward to meeting Mike.
Absolutely. And I'll make sure we'll work that out and everything. We'll have you guys sit down and all that stuff. And,
great.
There'll be more future stuff with Gina as well as Mike on the show and everything. And, spreading that positive message is really something that I'm really pushing towards, because there's so much negativity out there in the world. We tend to get drowned by the negativity, and what kind of that mindset, because I've went through this a lot, through all that negativity, kind of brings you down and keeps you in a low place.
Yeah, a low vibration.
Yes.
A low frequency.
And speaking about vibrations and frequency, that was one of the main things, the law of attraction, pretty much.
Law of attraction.
Goes hand in hand, right, with your vibration?
It absolutely does, because we're energy. A magnetic field,
Absolutely.
And we're like little antennas. We're all just getting information all the time, but we're our thoughts turn into things. So if you are your self-talk, you talk to yourself more than you talk to anybody.
Oh, yes,
so you should really do your best to check out what you're saying to yourself, because a lot of people don't, and that's only because we're on autopilot. We're just programmed. That we're like, if you look at that iceberg, right?
Absolutely.
The top of the iceberg is our conscious, which is where, you have to consciously say, like, this isn't working for me, so I'm going to change it. The rest of the iceberg, which is the biggest part of it, is your unconscious. And that's how people are operating. Wow. That's where people are primarily 90% of the time operating from. From the minute they get up in the morning, they just go through a program. They don't think about it. You get up, you brush your teeth, your mindset goes on, you're going to work, what your head has to say, what your self-talk is. You're just going through these motions. And I did it. Yeah. I was always going through my motions and every day until I started to check out the tip of the iceberg a little bit more.
Yeah. I got you.
Okay. And looking into how much more control I really have over myself than you're led to believe.
It's true. Yeah.
And so then I zoomed in on my self-talk. What am I saying? If I felt like shit, I would stop myself and I would check out. What are you saying to yourself?
Yeah.
Because you're saying something and it's not good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
is self-talk good or bad, or is it?
Well,
you kind of need it.
Of course. But you want to check what you're saying to yourself, because what you're saying to yourself is then being activated by an emotion towards it. So if you're saying, if you get up every single morning and your mantra before your feet even hit the floor is, I hate my job.
Yeah.
Can't believe I got to go to this place again today, blah, blah, blah. You're already in a low vibration.
Yeah.
It's not going to get much better for you, because, and then what happens is then you get evidence of it. And then you go, see, this is my life. This is my life. That's because of the strip you're playing in your brain. If you become conscious and say, oh man, I am beating myself up before I even get to the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Of course you're going to have a bad day.
Of course you're going to have a bad day.
Yeah.
So if you really take that moment in the morning to consciously think about how you want your day to go and intentionally set an intention. So what I choose to do now is I choose to set my intention in the morning and just say, I'm going to have a great day today. I can feel it already, you know, and as my feet hit the floor, you know, I'm awake. I'm very awake. I'm not going through a program. I am steering my ship because most people aren't.
Like you said, they're on autopilot.
They're on autopilot. And then on top of being on autopilot, their younger child self is driving their bus. So not only on autopilot, your younger traumatized probably child, okay? Because we're all traumatized.
Yeah.
So your traumatized child is driving your bus. You're in the back seat, flying around because you got no seatbelt on, going, what the fuck? You know, my life sucks.
Yeah.
And what I teach people to do is we need to stop and look at that now, right? Yeah. So now I can see that just, you know, resonate with you. Your child is driving your bus. What do you do about that? You become conscious.
Yes. Okay.
And you consciously look at that little child. And what I do with my clients is I walk them through the healing of that. And if you want to walk through the healing of it, you don't always have to either. You can consciously make a choice to just choose joy and let it go.
Absolutely.
That's a conscious choice. Yeah. But again, because people are on autopilot and their kids, driving the bus, they're just going along for the ride and saying, what the heck? So becoming conscious, reading any book you can, conscious living. I mean, there's so millions of them out there. So many great gurus out there. I started with Marianne Williamson, who was all about love, who totally helped me to forgive my father, who abandoned us 6 kids when I was a year old. So I didn't have a father. He took off. And there was a hole in me for that.
Yeah.
Marianne Williamson is the reason that hole is gone. You know, she
helped you kind of get through.
She helped me to understand that this is my journey, and my father, whose name is Mickey, you know, could have been Paul, could have been Harry, could have been Jim. It didn't matter. This was it. This is what was going to go down. And who I am is a reflection of everything I've gone through, right?
It's true.
So I have more empathy for people, or, you know.
That's true. Now, how would someone, would you say, deal with their trauma or accept it in a sense? Is because there's no real getting rid of the past, pretty much.
No, but you don't have to drag it with you. That's for sure. I know people that have had some serious things happen to them, and yet they rise to the top. You know, they just have the tenacity. They jump over it. They're not going to allow it to interfere with this life that you got. One of my closest friends, my best friend since I've been 5 years old, you know, she's my great, that's who I go to when I feel like I need someone. And she's gone through the most trauma of anybody I know. So, you know, and then there's people that it depends on how you look at it. Like Mike said, you're a victim, it's the truth. You're either a victim or a victor.
Yes.
And that's the case. He was 100. When he said that, I was like, that's right, Mike, because that's exactly how it is. And when you recognize that you're playing a victim role, victim roles do not serve you. However, because there's a positive intent in all behavior, no matter what you do, good or bad, there's a positive intent in it for you. So the kid that's screaming in the corner and, you know, getting bad attention is still getting attention. There's a positive intent for every behavior. So that's what you always want to look for. What am I getting out of this? What do I get from playing the victim? You know, we all know people online. I know a family member, you know, who boo-hoos it all day and, oh, prayers for you and, oh, I'm with you. And they need that. They really, really do need that. I would love nothing more than to see them, you know, turn that around for themselves because that will be their life.
Now, pretty much someone would have to accept it themselves, pretty much, like take ownership of their life and see that there's no way really you can't force anybody to do any of this. Change really has to come from within.
Yes. And you can't fix what you don't acknowledge.
Exactly.
You just can't. And to be able to acknowledge something that is not very pretty about yourself.
Yeah.
And be able to go deep into what it was you needed, and then to be able to say what you needed, it's just life-changing to be able to be that vulnerable. It is. We talked about this at lunch today.
Yeah, absolutely.
About vulnerability and how important it is, that we all understand. We're all the same.
Yes, this is true. We are all the same in a sense of emotions and trauma and all that stuff.
But we all handle it differently.
Exactly. And would you say how you handle it is from how you learned from your parents or were taught pretty much how to handle stuff?
Yes.
Like, we'll say, like my father wasn't really an emotional type of person, right, in a sense.
And that's who you model.
Exactly. So that's something that we have to almost kind of like break the cycle and actually learn and move from that. But that's something that we have to really accept, accepting that the part, number one, that we all have trauma.
Yes.
And number two, acknowledging that and not allowing it to affect our future.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Exactly. So like in your case, okay, so your father didn't show much emotion. You're a young boy. You're watching him interact with your mother. Mm-hmm. You're learning everything from your father. You're modeling your father. Same sexes normally model one another. Mm-hmm. And then you're picking up all the cues, everything that's going with learning that. Experience. Now you grow, you get taller, right? You're a grown man. And you see that there are areas in this where it doesn't serve you well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Doesn't serve you. Mm-hmm. So now as a grown man, right, that what I would hope for you to see is, you know what? Wow, you know what? I didn't like that about my dad.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I might have became it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like I did see that, and I said, well, parts of what I saw, I was aware of it, and I was like, well, I don't want to repeat this. I would like to change this in this aspect. Now at the same time too, like I didn't have any kids or anything like that, so I couldn't really do that for my kids. But at the same time, I could do that for myself.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the main things. That's
and
why
your
I was
relationships.
And yes.
And your relationships, because that's where the communication is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. The personal and professional relationships that we do have, it's all about the communication and how you effectively communicate.
Yes.
Because you could say the same thing, but in two different ways and get two different reactions.
Absolutely. Or you could have learned from your dad. Maybe your dad was an over communicator, but didn't communicate in a healthy way.
I gotcha.
And you could have picked up on that very easily too.
Yeah.
Because there's people that do, and their relationships don't work because of how they handle it or their tone in it.
Yeah.
Because it's learned.
Oh yeah.
Everything is learned. So if you don't like a part of you, right? If you can acknowledge it. I'm so sorry about the dog.
Yeah,
I just can't.
It's all good.
If you acknowledge it, you can correct it. You can correct it. You can. All you have to do is Google it, right? Like I'm an asshole, like my father. Something's coming up.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, and if it does, then you start reading. Like if this is parts of you, and that's what I did. I started looking at areas in my life that I was, my mother raised 6 of us by herself, totally by herself. No siblings. We didn't have aunts. We didn't have uncles. We didn't have grandparents. We didn't have anybody but my mother.
Gotcha.
And that traumatizes you as a kid. You get a little messed up not knowing if your mother's coming home. And if she doesn't, then guess what? You're going to foster care. That was how I grew up,
That's tough.
So you're always... for me, I was always looking for a father.
Yeah, you're always looking for
always looking for my first husband, father figure. father figure, what I thought a father was, because I didn't have a father. So, but I used to eat dinner at all my girlfriends' houses that had fathers, and I would watch their father, and it was the craziest thing. But I always knew I was doing it. I always knew I was doing it, and then married what I thought was a father figure. That didn't work out, And this is the stuff that you do, but when you're able to look at what you do and how come you do it, to me it makes me smile and laugh because it's a form of survival.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I survived.
Yeah, you did. And you learned from each step that you did. And that's one of the main things a lot of people, they don't learn from the steps that they make. Or, as we're saying, like reflecting upon the past to not repeat those mistakes.
Right. And to change. See, the problem with change is you got to change. Yeah. Like people throw the word around all the time, but it really requires the change, which is the action involved in it. And that seems to be where people get stuck up and caught up in that, But if you make one little, like, if you don't get caught up in thinking that a change is a 360 thing. Remember when you and I worked years ago, I said to you, I'm not trying to take you and spin you around twice and point you in another direction. I'm not going to do that to you. I don't have to, because if you just tap on something, tap on one little change. It's like being out on a sailboat. And if I tap the wheel, I'm going in a different direction. I'm not doing a 360. Absolutely, yeah. I'm just gliding into another direction.
Exactly. Long term, there's going to be a different outcome.
Yes. There's totally going to be a different outcome.
Small little changes.
Yes.
We'll even say for fitness and health in myself, small little changes of eating less than what I eat.
Right.
And then changing what I eat. Like little things like that. And
even if you took your plate, okay, you're trying to lose weight, okay? Even if you eat off a dinner plate and you said, you know what, I'm going to make one change. I'm going to start eating off a lunch plate. Yeah. I'm going to take that meal and I'm going to put it on a lunch plate now, right? That's one little change. That's the same as tapping out on a sailboat. You just tap that wheel. You're just going in a little different direction, right?
Yes, sure.
That's all it takes to start the movement to change. And if you're in a household, it only takes one person to change. Everybody has to change because everybody's playing a role in that household. So if you have one person who changes the lines, okay, because we're all on stage, and changes the lines, you're going to have a different outcome. You're going to have a different ending. You're going to have a different everything.
Yeah.
Only takes one person. So like when I went into my therapy and when the woman said to me, I'll fix him right after I fix you. Yeah. I sat down. It was interesting because, your first thought is to push back and get defensive. But I did. I was almost relieved. I felt like a sense of relief. I almost wanted to take a nap in her chair because I was like, thank you, God. Somebody's saying something different to me. Yeah. And wanted to know me and what happened to you. And that was one of the things she said. What happened to you? And I never thought about what happened to me. I never did because I'm on autopilot. Yeah. I'm on autopilot. And now I have these two kids that are, climbing up the walls and I'm telling them to get down and they're not listening and all these things. Mm-hmm. When she changed me, my whole house changed. My whole house. You asked my 38-year-old son how it changed. I was going to
say, how did they accept that change?
They kind of had no choice. It was, it was a complete different change because back then, I was a young mother. I was, a screamer. Even though my mother wasn't a screamer, but my sister who raised me was. The olders watched the younger. So she was. So I learned how to be a screamer and to scream at them as much as I could. And that never worked. And I was frustrated and I was having panic attacks and all kinds of shit was going on. But when she started looking at me and I was able to make changes, everything changed within me. So I stopped screaming. As soon as I stopped screaming, nobody knew what to do. Yeah. They didn't know what to do. I was deliberate. I did what I said. So like a lot of parents out there, you're all going to Great Adventure, right? And everybody's going tomorrow and little Jimmy or Johnny or Cindy starts acting up. And now they're ricocheting all over. And what do? Everybody does it. You're not going to go to Great Adventure if you keep doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody does it. Well, the little shit knows he's going to Great Adventure. He knows he can go another 10 rounds with you and still go to Great Adventure. And that's what I had to learn.
Yeah.
So what I learned was when I spoke. So if I said we're not going to Great Adventure, we did not go to Great Adventure. And let me tell you something. It only took one time for each one of my children
to figure that out,
to learn it.
Okay.
Because what happened was I came home and reintroduced myself to them.
Okay.
It wasn't just something that, once the plan was made with the woman, my guru, once it was made, I announced it to the family and said, listen, mom says something once, that's it. And that's what I had to do. And when I started doing it and started seeing the shift and the difference in everybody around me, I felt so powerful because it was amazing.
Yeah.
And my son, I put him right out of the car in the cat and dog rain. I put him out in the car. He thought, because he was mouthing off at me, he thought that I was going to pull up and then say, get your ass in the car. Well, I didn't. I pulled right away. I put my blink, and he walked home. By the time that kid came through the door, I was eating dinner at the table, and he was pissed. But guess what? Never did again. Never did again. Like, that's how I learned. So when I was teaching back in, 2002 or whatever, I was doing work with the Girl Scouts. I was doing work with parents. And that was the whole thing with parents. Parents are always looking for some magic fairy dust or something.
Some trick or something.
The trick is consistency. If you can nail consistency as a parent, now don't be like I was, consistently letting them run me over. Be consistent in what you say. Be consistent in what you do. And then that's the real, because we teach people how to treat us. So I was teaching my kids really young, run me over upside and down, and I'm going to take your ass for ice cream. That's what I was teaching my kids out of love.
Yeah.
Because I love them so fucking much. But what I wasn't learning, you know what I mean? I was trying to just show them all this love. I just love you to death. And you know me with my kids, how much I love my kids.
Absolutely.
But nobody railroads me anymore. Yeah. I haven't been railroaded since 96. But when everything changed, that's what changed. So there's just so much. I could sit here for days.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's good. So who are some gurus now that are popular that you would say that people should look into?
Totally look into Joe Dispenza, quantum physics, magnetic field, how everything's really rolling, how things they now know, how it works.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
I was gonna say I started following him on Instagram. I started watching some of his YouTube videos. And stuff.
Great.
Very inspirational. He has lots of good messages, and some of that stuff I share that through Instagram or Facebook and everything, so other people can see that.
There's more and more people getting turned on by him.
Absolutely, he's
like one of the biggest lecturers people in the world right now. Yeah. So look him up, listen to what he has to say. Yep. The other one for me, my everything with what I listen to is Abraham Hicks. Okay. Esther Hicks, who is all about energy and all about frequencies. Yes. So if you're, on a low vibration, a low frequency, then you're pretty much listening to shitty music. That's how I look at it. It's like you love rock and roll, but you can't get close to rock and roll because your mind is so twanged that you're listening to the 50s, and you're not happy.
This is true. This is true.
But when you're really flying high on a high vibration, it feels just like you're like listening to your music of your, choice. You're high on it. That high feeling you get when you listen to good music and you're grateful. And the more high you are on gratitude, the better your life is going.
That's true. Yeah.
The lower, the shittier your life's going.
So how would someone really transition from a low frequency to a higher frequency?
Gratitude.
Just gratitude. Just being grateful. It's
just being mindful in this moment because if you're in that state, you're in the past. You're living in the past. or you're living, in the future. I am a future person, but I'm also a moment person. So like I take in the moments more now than ever.
Absolutely.
And I am so grateful for every single thing. Like you would think, honestly, I know some pretty wealthy people too. And you would think that I was living in their world in my mind because I just float around in gratitude. Yeah. And I feel like if you can find one thing, even if people will go, oh, there's nothing to be thankful for. I got shit. You do.
There's a lot of things like,
oh my God, your breath, air in your lungs.
Some people can't even breathe. Some people have to have a machine to breathe, walking around. Some people don't even have legs to walk. I could see everything. I can hear everything. You got to understand there's a lot more people out there that are less fortunate, that were born with these deficiencies and stuff. So you got to be grateful for everything that you got. And a lot of things, like I do see people on Facebook and Instagram, and, they're missing arms and legs from war or being born without them. And they're, excelling at life,
Right.
They're climbing, they're climbing mountains. They're, hunting, deer. They're doing pull-ups. Like
they're living their life.
They're living. Exactly. Absolutely. There is one of these guys, he's a quadriplegic, and he's, in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, is he?
Yes, absolutely. I listened to him on one of the podcasts, him and another guy. They, quadriplegic.
Yeah.
Doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu and stuff. Like he's living his best life, and he's climbing mountains and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, he's appreciative for his life.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yes, absolutely.
But I think that, unfortunately, I shouldn't say, I don't want to say it that way, but people who have their limbs and are going to their job that they hate today, you know what I mean? They're not zooming in on that. They're only in their own thought, their own sadness, their own poor me pity party song. It's like going to a bad movie. Like you would never, if you went and saw a shitty movie and bought a ticket for it, it's $100 to go to the movies now. Did you know that? Yeah. Okay, so if you pay $100 and you go in and you see a shitty movie, are you going to go back and buy another ticket? Well, the answer seems to be yes, because people do it all the time, all the time, and they don't think they have control. You can stop your brain. Yeah. You can check out what you're saying. Yeah. You can wake up and realize that you're in just this moment, and just this moment, and just this moment, and that's all you're really having is the moment. Yeah,
absolutely. Don't worry about the future. Can't change the past. Past is
and
gone.
If you ever looked over your shoulder at the evidence, everybody's gone through shit.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? We've all gone through shit. So if you look over your shoulder and you start going, oh man, like I got nothing to worry about. I've gotten through more shit in my life. Got through that. The evidence is stockpiled. But yet when people come upon some shit, they always act shocked, and they always act like, can you believe this shit? Well, look over your shoulder. You got shit all the time. Yeah, and you got through all that shit. So I'm pretty sure you'll get through this shit too. But they get locked up. And I like to help people to let go, unlock,
get unstuck,
and live joyfully. Yeah. Live joyfully. So I'm excited about doing this with you.
Absolutely. And this is great, but we're not done yet.
Oh, okay.
We're definitely not done.
Okay. Got more?
I do. I do have a few more things for you.
Okay.
So we had mentioned before about beliefs. So that is something that we just touched on just a little bit, but I wanted to hear more about this. Okay. Because you were saying something like what people believe is pretty much what
they're going to get.
What they're going to get, right?
Every time.
Okay.
No exceptions.
So like myself, for me, the biggest thing was I needed to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember.
Yeah. But because I didn't believe that one day someone would just knock on a door and hand me a bunch of money for no reason.
Right.
Like I didn't believe that.
Right. That it could happen that way.
But it could happen now.
Of course
That's
it could.
The thing. But I couldn't wait for that moment, because that day I felt like it was not going to happen today or tomorrow or even sometime next week.
Right.
So that,
well, I'm sure that there was some raising going on in there with mom and dad and how you were raised with money.
Well,
money, you had to work hard to get money. Mm-hmm. Money doesn't, isn't being, sent to you. Everything's hard. Exactly. Work hard around getting that money and sacrifice and suffer.
Well,
make sure you're suffering too while you're getting your money.
Well, we'll go into this a little bit more. We'll say, well, with this YouTube channel, this podcast, if I can compare this to Joe Rogan or Tim Ferriss or Jocko Willink and all those guys that have these successful podcasts, but they had to start somewhere, and where they started was a lot of hard work.
Absolutely.
And that's the, I guess.
I'm not saying that it doesn't take hard work.
No. I'm definitely not against that, but I'm just saying, like, you get used to it, you get more comfortable, and it gets easier.
Right. Yes.
It does get easier.
Yes.
So, like, me buying the equipment, me setting things up, doing the first recording, and just changing things. And, I put a lot into it to where, I have a great episodes, and then like the next episode, I have completely, no audio and stuff. And that happens.
Right.
Like I had Mike on, everything was great. I should have took it upon myself to check all my equipment and my programs before the next episode and make sure everything was fine. And that's what happened. The next episode came thinking everything's fine. I opened it up and it needed an update. I updated it, and then it changed the recording channels on me, which I didn't.
So you got all screwed up.
So I got all screwed up, and I was crunched for time. And I said, let's just roll with it.
Right.
And I didn't get a good product out of that.
Right.
So.
But you're passionate about this.
I am. And
it's different when you're applying your energy towards something that you're passionate about, and you're working hard towards something you're passionate about. It doesn't feel like work then, right?
But see, I'm not getting any type of monetary value out of this. I'm not getting any money.
What are you getting from it?
I'm getting the enjoyment of sharing experiences with my friends and family.
Right.
And recording those things.
Right.
Making sure everything, recording those things, and I'm capturing those things because as I get older, it's something I can always reflect upon.
Right.
And it's also like the people that I meet, like yourself, Mike, a few other people, they have a lot going on for them. And I feel like that information and stuff needs to be put out there for other people that can help them out.
Yes.
And it's one thing to actually sit there and watch a YouTube video of Joe Dispenza or Joe Rogan and all the many people that he has on. And you'll never meet those people in your entire life, but you'll meet us.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I'm not changing the world, but I'm changing people in my world.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's exactly it. That's what I try to do.
Yeah.
That's what I try to. I'll help anybody. You know what I mean? I've always been like that. I want to help people. I want to see people succeed. I want to see people happy, just joyful. And that's kind of what I get, because that's all I focus on too. I get a lot of people that, show up for that, and that's a good thing because I need that. See, I need it.
Now, how do you deal with someone, we'll say, that's negative? Like myself, how did you deal with me for so many years being so negative and everything for the time that we've known each other?
I feel like I just loved you anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, wouldn't you say I loved you anyway?
Yeah, absolutely.
I loved you anyway.
Like your kids, you love them anyway.
I loved you, and I still love you. But I feel like back then I just kept showing you love. Because don't you think I just kept showing up for you, and I kept showing you love, and I was always hoping that all the little seeds, the little thing I would say here, the little thing I would drop there, would tap you a little bit, and it did.
And that's what I really want to get at that moment is you don't know what people are going through.
Mm-mm.
You don't know their background unless you do know them. But at the same time, too, you have an opportunity in people's lives to be the light, to be the example of their life. So somebody might be at a point in time, a transitional point, changing their mindset or changing everything else. And that's why the main focus is doing this is, with me and Ronnie and Freddie as well, as, we're trying to break things down and, show people that they're not alone, that they're going through stuff,
right?
That there is help there.
Right.
Not to say that everyone needs help, but at the same time too, sometimes we need guidance. Sometimes we just need to hear that positive message.
Right.
And we just need, like
or
to
hear that somebody's gone through what you're going through right now, and that and that they're not alone. It's interesting because I'm looking at you right now. I want to. I want to go deeper here with you.
Yeah,
I'm not
absolutely.
going to do it to you.
You can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. If you have anything to say, go right ahead.
Well, I just feel like because you came full circle in your communication, right? Because you didn't communicate.
Oh, absolutely.
At all.
Mm-hmm.
And
but I didn't communicate because of where I was at in my life at that time. The job that I do, and I still do now, is a very dark, depressing
yes, it is.
And I was very much inside that dark, depressing time, as you said. But that job has provided so much for me, and it's still providing me so much. In the long term is what I'm looking at. If I had to, walk through hell, or, swim through a river of shit
to get to the end,
at the same time too. But at the same time,
you have to live while you're getting there.
Yes, I have to enjoy life a little bit, and that's what I am doing.
But wait.
Go ahead.
So this is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Right. So you were in that dark place, and you still do that very dark job, except you don't do it in the same way. I can't imagine that you could. Right.
Oh, no
way.
At all. Oh.
So because something switched. So
Absolutely.
And to me, I feel almost like you were yourself in that dark space feeling alone, right? And sitting in that dark space feeling alone, there was something inside of you that resoned out of it to be someone who's sitting in a dark space alone.
Absolutely.
So
I'm in a position now to
help the
people.
person sitting in the dark space. Now, if you didn't sit in that dark space alone, right, this wouldn't have evolved.
Exactly.
So how great, right? And right now, I always tell my clients all the time, bless that shit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Bless that shit. Bless your dark shit.
I learned so much from it.
That's the growth. That's where the growth is. You don't grow in joy, unfortunately. Although I do ask for that every day. I got that. That's my thing. I am willing to learn in joy. But you just, you don't, right? You don't. And I feel like you sitting in that, sparked this and brought this out, which it brought out this whole new communication,
Absolutely.
Carl.
Yeah.
That was not there before, or was there before, but was pushed way down because my bet is when you were younger, you were chatty patty more.
Go back. I don't know. I'd have to go back to when I was younger.
12. Go back to 12. What were you like?
I was very weird.
Oh, you're weird?
Yeah, I guess I was a weird kid.
Were you weird? So were you the weird quiet kid?
Yeah.
Oh, you were.
In high school and everything, yeah.
You were the weird, quiet kid.
I had a large group of 3 friends, but I knew quite a lot of people from, wrestling and all that stuff.
Right.
From the different teams, track and field and everything. But yeah, I was the quiet kid that kind of kept to myself.
Now let me ask you something. Mm-hmm. Can you now you know about self-talk and, so the self-talk was not good.
Oh yeah. The self-talk was horrible because, I was kind of putting myself down.
Yeah.
Not that anyone would put me down.
Yeah, but you would do it to yourself.
I would do it to myself. I didn't feel like I was good enough.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. And
sound familiar, anybody? Yeah. I mean,
and I still do that sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm very conscious of that talk, and I can snap myself out of it and say, hey, wait a second. I'm going down this dark place. I'm I don't need to go that way.
Exactly.
So
you're making better choices.
Absolutely.
And you're pushing back on your self-talk.
Yes.
And
pushing back on it.
Push back on that self-talk, you know,
Absolutely.
because there's way too much evidence again, you know, that it's bullshit, the self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's crazy how we punch ourselves right in the face like that. Isn't it? It's like you're sitting, you just punch yourself right in the face.
You do, yes.
You know, and I bet you if you got to see it get inside of everybody's mind, you'd see a lot of people punching themselves in the head. You know,
it's true.
It's sad, and that comes from trauma. That comes from the way you're raised. You're just that feeling of just never being enough or good enough or whatever it is that you have.
Absolutely.
You know, mine was matter, and this was something that really. I mean, for all years I've been saturated in this stuff. It really hit me on how my thing is that the minute you make me feel like I don't matter to you, then I check right out. And when I follow that string, it goes right to my father.
I gotcha. Yeah.
It goes right to my father. My father made me feel like I didn't matter. I never got a birthday card. I never got anything. Never got nothing. Didn't matter. But my cousin down the block, he got everything. And that was my father. From everything with Uncle Mickey. I'm like, you know, really? I didn't get shit. So I didn't feel like I mattered. Well, here I am 60 years old. And I'm telling you, it's the one thing I still have in me. If you make me feel like I don't matter, then I get rid of you because I don't want the pain.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So I just say, bye-bye now. And that's what I do. And I sweep you right out of my life because I don't deserve that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's where I am like now with it. You know, I don't deserve that. Mm-hmm. I make everybody that's near me feel like they matter. Yeah. And okay, I can do it and you can't. I get all that. But, you know, come on. I mean, people do have to wake up a little bit more.
Yeah, that's true.
So, wow. So, yeah. So that's good. I mean, we can talk here for a while longer about you. You want to do that?
Talk all you want. Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any questions for me about any of this stuff?
I'm so, you know, so happy to see where you're at and your growth. And you've only just begun, and that's the fun part too. Yeah. And you can't go back. It's falling down, a fucking hole. It's Alice in Wonderland hole, going back.
Well, I'll put this out there. I listen to Jordan Peterson. He's one of my gurus that I like to listen to. And he says he's like, you just walk through hell. Why do you want to go back through hell?
Right.
No, just keep going forward.
You just keep going.
And that's it.
If you're in hell, keep going.
And that's the thing. It's like, going. As I was saying, as I'm swimming through this river, shit. You know, there's the end. There is an end.
And a towel waiting. Yes, there is.
There's always something better at the end. And you can look and reflect upon that stuff. Like, I can't believe what I just did or what I went through.
Yeah.
But it just shows how strong a person actually is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't give each other credit for the mental fortitude that they have and their emotions and all that stuff.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, they get wrapped up into that stuff.
It's easy to get wrapped up into too. And it goes back to making a deliberate decision that you want to grow.
Yeah.
And making, there's a lot of people out there who really, don't want to grow. A lot of people this is how I am. Society is what it is. That's just, hey, I've been this way my whole life. What do you want? Oh my God. I'm like, okay. But you see a lot of people like that. And if it's working for you, by all means, knock your socks off. Have the joy of life you could have. But if it's not, then you really need to check yourself and figure out what it is, whether it's the self-talk. Reach out to someone that could listen to what you got to say and help you maybe to shift your perception on some things. Reframe a situation for you so that you can see it differently with a better mindset.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I felt like has helped me and my personal self. The self-talk and everything, if I'm able to talk it out to somebody and bounce it off and I'm actually hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth, it's like a slap in the face pretty much, like, wow, am I really thinking that? And did I just really say that? And it's like, then that's where my thought process is.
Yeah.
And that's really the change right there.
Which is so awesome.
Talking some of the stuff out. And a lot of people, like myself, will say it. the big macho people saying like, oh, I'm not going to go to therapy. I don't need that. There's nothing wrong with me. But one of the people I listen to, Jocko Willink, former Navy SEAL, all this stuff, big badass guy, he says there's nothing wrong with anything like that, because what he categorized it as your car. The check engine light comes on. Mm-hmm. It needs an oil change. It needs, maintenance, basically. So he
and you don't hesitate to go do it.
Exactly. Otherwise, it's going to break down. It's going to be done forever.
Right.
You're going to have to buy a new car. Well, you can't buy a new brain. You can't do all that stuff. So, when a check engine light comes on in your mind, you gotta go get it taken care of.
Yeah.
And you're not necessarily going to therapy, but it's more of like a brain mechanic, he says.
He's right.
Absolutely. And that resonated with me, and I kind of hold on to that still.
So that analogy helped you.
Yes, that helped me. Like, instead of saying, oh, I'm going to therapy, no, I'm going to go to my brain mechanic and just, work things out.
To me, therapy is self-love. It's self-love. It's just, we all have stuff going on, and I just feel like it's self-love. It's something that you do for you. Yeah. You find a good therapist, nothing better than a good therapist. And you're able to just pick up like a friend that you haven't seen, you just kind of pick up, and whatever is going on in your life at that time, you're able to kick it around and hopefully move past it. With NLPs, what the difference between like a traditional psychiatrist, they're into the why you do something. Nobody knows why they do it. Why do you do that, Carl? Why? Nobody knows. That's what I know. Why I'm here. We're into how you do it. More of how do you do that? How do you keep that going? How are you processing? What's your strategy? What do you do when you get up in the morning? What is going on we're just film strip, and it rolls. And if you're playing the same thing, you'll go to bed with it. You'll wake up with it until you have the scissors. You can cut that film and put in a new film. You really can. And a film of hope, a film of, I can get through this. I've gotten through all that in my life. Mm-hmm. I surely can get through this. No worries. Waves are going to come. There's going to be clear. You know how it goes. That's how I do everything on the water. Clear seas, and then you see a wave coming, and it's how you want to go through it. You can sit there and go, motherfucker, it's another wave, or you can say, okay, I see the wave, it's coming. Yeah. I'm going to choose to remain calm. Mm-hmm. I'm going to hold on to my raft. Yeah. I'm going to go over the wave the best I can. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to come down on the other side, and I'm going to be fine. Like, I think it's that mindset of everything is always fine, because it really is, in so many ways. And my mantra is everything always works out for me. That's what I say. If I got shit coming at me, I'm like, everything always works out for me, because one way or another, there'll be a silver lining for us on this. Mm-hmm. And that's my mindset. And I feel like that's what we get. And that's where the belief thing comes in. What you believe is what you get. So that old saying of whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right every time, because it's what you think. So if everything's, I can't do that, or I can't do that, I can't do that. Well, you just can't, and you won't, and that will be that. Because your mindset. Yeah. Right. If you have that mindset of, I can do that. A lot of people like that too. I can do that. I could do that. I could do that. Well, yeah, it's like, for my instance, this podcast, it's like, I never thought in a whole million years that I could actually do something like this until it's amazing. It just took a while, and then I did a research, found the microphones that I wanted to use. I bought a microphone, and then I was like, all right, well then how do I want to do this? And then I bought another microphone, and then it just kept building from there. Because you were walking towards it every day. Yes. And that's what you were focused on, and what you focus on expands. Exactly. So you zoomed in on it and you lit it up, and it's amazing. Yeah. It's not like the long-term effect of like, oh, I want 1 million subscribers, and I want to be as famous as, we'll say, Joe Rogan or anyone else like that. Right. It's like, well, no, let me enjoy this. Let me enjoy the process, and one step at a time. And if I were to get, 2 microphones and record, and it doesn't work out good, well then, what are you out? I tried something. Yeah, right. I tried something. Right. It was the experience of trying something. Right. And I just kept going with it, and this is where I'm at right now. I think I'm at
43 episodes. This is 43.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it hasn't even been a year.
And what did I say to you? I said, are you still just as excited?
I am, because in these moments, I would have to say I'm the happiest because I'm doing something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And I can't put a price on it. Can't put a price on it.
No, you can't.
On the conversations that we have and everything that's going on. Because I'm learning from each person that I have. I'm learning something about them. I'm learning something about myself each time. That's the other thing.
Right. That's what happens.
What else, you could see from the first episode to episode now and how comfortable I am.
Absolutely.
Talking to people, presenting myself, presenting the show. If I said to a friend of mine, I said, if we have it doesn't matter who we have on the show, because we make the show. If it's a bad show, it's because we allowed it to become bad.
Right.
We didn't save it from spiraling outward.
Crash and burning, yeah.
If it's good episodes, because we allowed it to blossom or, grow and just be enjoyable. So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I want to say thank you, Gina, for allowing me to come out here to this amazing studio that you have here. Again, Walker's Renovations. I'll make sure I'll put the link in the description below. Check them out, man. Do you guys have Facebook or anything like that?
We don't. I mean,
that's something.
We're thank you, God. We have never advertised.
Yeah,
we just don't. I mean,
word of mouth.
He's so busy. My husband is Andrew Walker. He is the renovator. He's also an artist.
Exactly.
You don't get many contractors that are artists.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
he went to Pratt and he worked for Disney and he's the real deal. And if
we're gonna have him on the show.
Yeah, he'd be a really good guest for you to have on. My God, listen. I manage him. He's got so many talents. My husband has more talents.
Schedule him in for a podcast session.
Well, maybe we can grab him today. I don't know, but he's amazing.
Okay.
But his we don't advertise. He's got so many references. We raise houses. We renovate homes. Down on the island, that's where he really is most of the time. But give us a call anytime.
Yeah, I'll get with you and we'll get that information. I'll make sure I'll put that in the description below
that would
and all
be
that
wonderful.
stuff. And you could reach out to Gina. She's on Facebook.
I am on Facebook. Yes.
Okay. So if you have any questions for Gina, or if you just want to
feel free,
reach out to her and say thank you and all.
Well, what would be really cool, something that I thought would be neat we could try is between now and our next lunch.
Okay.
If you wanted to put it out and anybody has any questions,
for you?
Yeah, like maybe you're having, a relationship issue or, I don't know, mostly, relationship is, mother, father, parent, child thing. Yeah, you have any.
Husband and wife, stuff like that.
Anything at all. Reach out to you the questions.
Send me the questions and all that stuff. And then
next time you could say Barbara from Forked River wants to ask you blah, 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 blah.
Or they could keep their name out completely and just say, hey, this is a question from,
Forked River.
From an unknown. And we have such and such. And we can actually do that. So if you guys have any questions or anything, just write down in the description below. Reach out to me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube as well. Gina's on Facebook. Reach out to Gina on Facebook. And let us know what you thought about this conversation and everything. Hopefully you guys did like this. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And write a comment below. And I hope you guys had a great day today. And thank you very much.
Thank you.